Trump has nominated Jay Clayton, the current U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York and the former SEC chairman, to take on the role of Director of National Intelligence. It comes as Democratic Congress members have put pressure on Trump to replace outgoing DNI Tulsi Gabbard with someone more appropriate than the Director of U.S. Federal Housing, Bill Pulte. Despite that pushback, Trump says he still intends to keep Pulte in the acting role of DNI, and he continues to defend his choice.
Do you intend to have Bill Pulte continue to serve as the acting director of national intelligence? And do you think it's unreasonable that some Republicans have concerns that he has no intelligence experience, even if he's serving in this acting role?
But he's intelligent, unlike a lot of other people.
But do you think that's fair? No intelligence?
He's only there for a little while. He's running it for a short while when we get a very talented person, Jay Clayton, in. As you know, Jay Clayton's an incredible talent, head of Sullivan and Cromwell. He was head of the SEC. He was now Southern District. I mean, nobody has better credentials. But Bill will run it for a short while. He's done a fantastic job at Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Created tremendous, it's probably worth $1 trillion now, trillion. He's done a great job. He's a smart guy.
Meanwhile, the Senate Intelligence Committee is scheduled to hold Clayton's confirmation hearing next Wednesday. Trump has said he intends for his DNI to look into cases of alleged election fraud. And Clayton has already spoken out about this as it pertains to the Los Angeles mayor's race, where there's been no evidence of fraud.
Do you think that it helps, given where you sit in the world, to speculate about fraud or potential fraud without any direct evidence of said fraud? Because typically, if you were to bring a case,
Andrew,
you historically wouldn't want to speculate about the case.
I am not speculating about fraud. I'm not saying there is fraud, okay? I am saying that the opportunity for fraud makes no sense to me when we can run a much better system.
Eugene Robinson, there are some in Washington, both sides of the aisle, who wonder if the post of DNI is even truly necessary anymore. At the very least, it should be diminished. But it's very clear what President Trump thinks that post should be about, because Tulsi Gabbard was largely sidelined from a lot of important intel decisions, but she tried to make herself useful by investigating alleged cases of voter fraud back in the 2020 election. No evidence there. And now both Bill Pulte and potentially Jay Clayton are signaling, they're going to pursue that too.
Right. Remember, there didn't used to be a DNI, and I'm sure the heads of the various intelligence agencies, the CIA, the NSA, would, in many of them at least, prefer to run their own shops and not report to a DNI. And so that job really is what the holder of that job makes it. And you could envision a director of national intelligence who was very constructive. We could envision a DNI who streamlined and modernized our intelligence gathering apparatus. We've got all these agencies. You could coordinate them better, I'm sure. I'm sure there are savings and efficiencies that you could have. But that's not what Tulsi Gabbard did or was allowed to do. And something tells me that that's not going to be what Jay Clayton is able to do either. So I guess he'll spend his time investigating the California election system, which is not what a DNI really ought to do.
No, they count votes slowly there, but there's been certainly no evidence of fraud. David Rohde, your thoughts on the Clayton pick, but also just I think there's a growing concern that it's about investigating 2020, but also setting up potentially plays for 26 and 28.
There's no question in my mind that Donald Trump is going to pressure Jay Clayton, if he gets the job, to look into these conspiracy allegations, which are all false. Like we are seeing the plan. The president is going to, try to influence and then question the results of the midterm elections, influence improperly. Just two quick things. Trump does seem weaker and weaker to me. The Democrats stood up. They said, no, we're not going to renew this intelligence authority to continue this very important surveillance program. And he's sort of weak compared to the Iranians. And so it's a win. But I spoke to a source last night who knows people who've worked for Clayton in the past. he's not a strong leader. He's not. He didn't stand up. And then this point was made yesterday. But when all these resignations happened, when the Eric Adams case was dropped by the Southern District of New York, he was running the Southern District of New York, or he was close. He hadn't been appointed yet. But other people resigned and spoke out and said how outrageous it was that the Trump administration dropped these investigation of the mayor of New York for political reasons, and people stood up and career people resigned. He didn't say a peep about it. So I wish I could say that I had lots of faith in Clayton, but he's not a strong leader, and the president wants him there, I think, to undermine the elections.
Well, a theme of the second term is Trump is only appointing people who he believes will be completely loyal to him and will do his bidding. That may be the case here with Clayton as well. MS Now senior national security reporter David Rohde. David, thank you